Welcome to week 4 of our Janome Sew Along, sponsored by Janome and Classic Sewing Magazine, and featuring this beautiful Continental M17 sewing and embroidery machine. Over the past 3 weeks, we made some beautiful notebook covers, and I'm sure yours turned out absolutely wonderful. This week, we are going to make it a matching pencil case. This pencil case is done all in the hoop. Our notebook cover had a few things we had to sew, and then we did the rest in the hoop. Now, my pencil case has not been embellished at all, but if you wish to embellish yours using the same techniques that we used with the notebook cover, you are more than welcome to. What you will do is, if you want to embellish the back or the lining, you will embellish those before you ever start anything. If you want to embellish the front, which there's not a lot of room to embellish the front, but you are more than welcome to, because there are little places here and there that you can fit some of those itty bitty designs. If you want to do that, you will do it just like we did the notebook cover before we add the lining and the back. So on the notebook cover, we added sleeves and a lining. Here we'll be adding a lining and a back. So you will just do all of your front embellishment that you want to before you do that. But here, I'm not going to do any of that. We've already showed you how. So I am just going to run through how to make this pencil case in the hoop. All right, so I've already gotten started. Just a little bit though. I have water soluble. Remember, this is that fibrous water soluble stabilizer. I have fibrous water soluble stabilizer in the hoop. Okay, and in this case, I'm using about an 11-inch square hoop. You could use one that's slightly smaller, but this is a great size. It also gives you room to be able to maneuver your hands with your fabric and things like that as well. And I have also, in this case, I have stitched out color number 1. Color number 1 is just a grid that goes onto your fabric that gives us boxes and guides as to where to place our fabrics and such. It's only on your stabilizer and gives us guides as to where to place our fabrics and such. So I've got that done. And so I'm going to place my first few fabrics and vinyl and a zipper all before we do any more stitching. Okay. So your instructions call for a 12-inch or longer zipper, or longer is fine. So this is probably a 24-inch zipper. It happened to be what I had that was in the right color. It doesn't matter that it's longer. It would matter that it would be shorter. It needs to be longer, okay? Now what we're gonna do with this, we have a box that is in our hoop that has stitched out on the right-hand side of the hoop. It's like its own little rectangle off to the side, big long rectangle right here, okay? We are going to place our zipper centered in that rectangle, and it's only gonna be centered side to side, okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna place a little bit of my glue onto the back of my zipper. And it doesn't have to be much. It just needs to be enough to hold it for a little bit. So it doesn't have to be a ton of glue, doesn't have to be all the way across it. It's just in a short space, okay? Then I'm gonna take the zipper and I'm gonna place it right side up inside that box. And like I said, I'm going to center it from side to side, which is this way. So it's centered this way, side to side. I have the pull of my zipper outside the box at the top, and the end of the zipper, the stop of the zipper, would also be outside the box at the bottom. Mine happens to be way outside the bottom because I have a big long zipper. Okay, and I'm gonna put just a little more glue. If it doesn't seem to be holding enough, add a little bit more glue. It's not gonna hurt a thing. You want it to stay where you want it to be. Now, this particular zipper is slightly narrower than some. And so it is fitting inside the box that is for the zipper, the placement box for the zipper. Some zippers will fit that box exact. So there are some zippers that are just happen to be, the zipper tape is slightly wider than others. So some will fit exact and some will fit like mine does, just a little bit shy. And this is just a all-purpose zipper. It's not a a large zipper. It's not a handbag zipper. It is just a plain old all-purpose zipper. The bigger your zipper coils get, the bigger your zipper tape gets, and the wider the zipper is. And you don't want anything much wider than a regular all-purpose zipper. Okay, so that's in there good. Now, I'm also going to take tape. So in your supplies, we asked for a low residue, low tack tape. And this is Whimsy tape. That's what I showed you there. This is going to be used in several places to hold items down while the stitching is being done. It doesn't get stitched through. It just holds things down, and we hold it down outside of where our stitching is going to be. So I've got 2 pieces of tape right now that are holding down this zipper. One is above the box and the other is below the box that was embroidered on the stabilizer. Okay. Now, a couple other pieces we're going to put on here. One is our vinyl. And so our vinyl, we've got another box here that has a bunch of lines in it. The vinyl goes centered side to side once again on that box. And you kind of center it. You want a fairly equal amount of your vinyl extending above and below. Okay, and then I'm just going to put a little piece of tape right out here where it's not going to stitch, and right out here where it's not going to stitch. Okay. And then we have 2 pieces of fabric, 2 small pieces of fabric that have been folded in half. We're going to take those 2 pieces, keep them folded in half. We're going to place one on each of the lines that is going through our vinyl. Okay, and we're going to butt them up to the line. So it's going to be on this line right here, and it is going to totally cover this part of the vinyl. And the fold of the fabric is here. The raw edges are on the outsides. And you want it to be butted right up to that line that's on the stabilizer, the stitching line on the stabilizer. Okay, then we're going to use a little bit more tape. Now, if you read ahead in your instructions are going to tell you exactly where the next stitch is going to stitch. And so you can make sure that you do not have tape in that area. So in this particular instance, what is going to happen is this is going to do a double top stitch right near the fold of that fabric, through the fabric and the vinyl. And so you don't want to have any of your tape being anywhere near the fold of your fabric. You want it to be around the rest of it, okay? And you don't need a whole lot. It just needs to be little bits. So I'm going to put a little up here and an even littler bit down here. Okay, and we'll do the same thing at the top one. Make sure it's where we want it to be. Put a little at the top and a little at the bottom. Okay. Okay, now we know that our needle is back at our back fabric, and our needle has jumped to where it's going to start. So we know it's going to top stitch this back piece first, and then it'll come and it'll top stitch the front piece. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do that. Okay, now our next stitch that we do is going to stitch down both sides of this zipper. So we could have placed all of this and then stitched it down and then gone to place our zipper and then stitched it down, but it's easier when you're placing things just to place as much as you can. So we're just going to start our next color and it's going to stitch down both sides of our zipper. Okay, then we also have 3 pieces that are a little bit wider or actually they're about as wide as our first pieces, but they're a little longer. And they have also been folded in half, okay? We're gonna do the same type of a line-up thing here. The only difference now is that we are going to line up the raw edges of this next piece with the edge of the zipper tape. Okay, and you're going to have it centered, and you want all of your pieces from now on kind of centered top to bottom in your hoop as best you can. Just have kind of an equal amount extending on both ends. Okay, and this one, you can tape this in place up over here on the fold if you want to. It's going to stitch it to the zipper on the raw edge side. Or you can just kind of pet it as you go. You can slow down your machine if you need to. It's just going to do a straight stitch. Okay, and then that one, because that is going to be a raw edge in our final product, that one also did do a zigzag stitch. The zipper tape obviously will not fray, but the fabric would have. Okay, so now our next step is going to be kind of a 2-step thing. What's going to happen is we're going to take this piece and we're going to fold it down so that it overlaps the vinyl. But we're going to have these pieces of tape in the way. So some of your tape, as you go, you've got to pay attention to where your next stitches are going to stitch so that you can remove your tape. But remember that this tape is fully reusable until it no longer sticks. So just save it. You don't need to, at least until you're done with this project. Don't throw it away, just save it, okay? So what we're going to do here is we're going to finger press our fabric away from our zipper. Okay, and then we can take those 2 pieces of tape that we just used and we can hold down the edges, the short edges of that piece. Okay, and then our next step is going to do, our next stitch is going to do a double top stitch again along this side. Our next stitches are going to do a double top stitch up next to the zipper. Now there's a pause between these two because it allows you, if anything happened or shifted while this one was stitching, that you could fix that. Or if this tape that you put on the ends of that last piece happened to be in the way, and you can tell because your needle is where that stitch is going to start. So if you need to remove that tape, you're going to do that. If you don't, you're just going to leave it there and you'll start again. Our next step is going to be to take another of those long strips. So you have 3 of these long strips. So your second one, we're going to take and we're going to place to the top of the zipper. And you want the fold to be near the zipper coils. So the fold of your fabric is near the zipper coils. And you want the distance between the zipper coils and the fabric on this side to be about the same on this side. Okay, so the difference between your fold of your fabric and your zipper coils, you want to have be about the same. And then you can take another piece of tape or two and tape that one into place as well, wherever you want to. I'm just taping the corners. You could tape in the middle. Whoops, missed that corner. Or whatever you want to do. Okay, and it's going to do again that double top stitch right at the top of the needle. Okay, and our last piece of our front is going to be the bottom piece. Now, when we first put down our vinyl, we had 2 lines down at the bottom and we put the vinyl to the outside line. So what we're going to do here is we're going to put the fold of this piece, this folded piece, to the top line, okay, or to the inside line, not the outside line. The outside line is where our vinyl was, okay? So you can see here, there's an outside line where our vinyl was, and then this inside line here is the one that we're going to align the fold of this piece of fabric with. Okay, and then I'm going to snag a couple of my other pieces of tape here that are already in place to tape this one down. Okay, and then we do that one. And you might have noticed on that one a little bit, my stitches are a little bit away from that fold. I got mine just slightly over where the stitching was because I'm doing this fairly quickly. I'm not paying as much attention as you will be. But just know, as long as you line everything up right as they're supposed to be lined up, all of your top stitching should be fairly similar in distance from the fold. Okay, that one's a little further, but it's because I overshot my my stitch just a little bit. Okay, now our next step is very, very important. We're going to take the tape at least off of your zipper. You can take all of your tape off at this point if you want to, but you really don't have to as long as it's really only on the way outer edges, okay? We're going to open our zipper. You've got to open your zipper right now because the next stitching is going to keep that zipper closed if you have it, if you have your pull off the edge, okay? So we're going to open our zipper about halfway into the bag. Then we're going to do our next stitch. Our next stitch is just going to do a rectangle that goes around the entire piece. Oops. Okay, now I don't know if you saw this or not, but right up here where I have the fold of the fabric that created this top bar right here, it actually folded back. The foot took it and folded it back. This is what we've been trying to prevent by petting our fabric, and I was not petting my fabric when this happened. So all I would do here, honestly, because this is just a placement line, is I would unpick those stitches, I would put a little glue on it, and I would push it back down again. So it's not a big deal if it happens. You don't need to redo anything. Just unpick a couple stitches and glue it down, and it will be just fine. Because the next things that we do, there's going to be fabric on top. And so we don't have to worry about it, about the foot pushing it again. It won't touch it again. Now, this right here, if you remember with our notebook cover, we did a rectangle that gave us the space where we could do any embellishment that we wanted to. This is that same rectangle. So you could do your embellishment inside that rectangle anywhere you want to. The final stitching will be just inside of that, okay? So I wouldn't do it really super close to it. Keep it about 1/4 of an inch inside of it because it's a little bit bigger than our other rectangle was for our notebook. But that gives you, space that you could do something if you wanted to. Okay, then we have our lining and our backing, and they are wrong sides together. We are going to place this so that it completely covers that rectangle. We're going to place this on top with the backing down. So your bag back is going to be facing the front. They will be right sides together, and then your lining is on top. Okay, and this is why these would have to be embellished beforehand. So if you wanted to embellish these, they need to be embellished already before you do this step. And we will just put these on here. They are wrong sides together, and the back is right sides to your bag. Okay, and then when we start this again, it is going to do that same straight stitch box and then a zigzag box to finish it out. So I'm going to go ahead and let it do the straight stitch box. And again, if you need to pet your fabric, you're going to pet your fabric. Okay, so you can see that that did the box around the entire thing. It did it twice because that is the outside stitching of our bag, so it was very secure that way. Then it went and it started into the zigzag stitching. So it'll do a zigzag stitch all the way around, just like we did with our notebook cover. And so at that point, what you would do is pop this out of the hoop. You would take this to your rotary mat, and you would use your blade or your rotary blade and your ruler to cut right next to the zigzag stitching without cutting the zigzag stitching. Now, this one, you need to remove the stabilizer from. And so you would soak this to remove your stabilizer, and then you'll have this adorable little bag. And so these bags, there's nothing to these bags. They coordinate with the with our notebook cover simply by their color and also by the color of the embroidery, which in this case is the color of the top stitching. And you can see it would look really cute if you had embellished your lining and you could see like some of those maybe spirographs through here or some of the kitty cats or what have you through your vinyl window. And so this is just an adorable, adorable little bag. Thank you so much for joining us for our Janome Sew Along, sponsored by Janome and Classic Sewing Magazine and featuring this fabulous Continental M17 sewing and embroidery machine. Just in case you missed any of our sessions, in week 1, we covered the supplies and preparation of a few pieces. In week 2, we put the first part of our notebook together and created a built-in monogram. And in week 3, we added more embroidery embellishments and finished our notebook cover. In week 4, we created the matching pencil case. All of these lessons are still available for you to view, and the instructions are also available for you to download. We hope that you enjoyed creating your own custom notebook cover and pencil case as much as we loved bringing it to you. And if you are in the market for a new sewing and embroidery machine, I highly recommend that you contact your local Janome dealer and take the Continental M17 for a test spin.